ghostly mark. Cobwebs twine and shadows dance in this twilight somber trance. Candles flicker, weary wicks, ancient echoes, time's cruel tricks. Marble figures, frozen pose, amidst the silence sorrow grows. Whispering shadows, secrets keep in the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom, guardians of the haunted room. Chandeliers in crystal tears reflect forgotten yesteryears, softly chanting distant cries. Through the arches sorrow sighs. Gargoyles watch with stony gaze, guardians of endless maze. Pipe organ's breath begins to rise, filling air with mournful ties. Whispering shadows, secrets keep in the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom, guardians of the haunted room.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lady Red, and I have kidnapped a lictor because if I have to have the flu, then I'm going to spread it around. Say hi, lictor.
Hi, Victor.
Well, you don't want the flu?
That's okay.
You,
I bought one.
See, I was doing fine. I had no flu. And then Aiden decided he needed to have the man flu. And then he gave it to me. You don't hear Lictor? Let me see if I failed to click a button or if Discord's just being weird. Can you say something for me, Lictor?
I will say everything.
Okay, yeah, Discord's being weird. Let me see if I can fix that. It shouldn't be, because everything's set correctly.
OBS requires punching to the face. What else?
Yeah, I know, right? No, I don't want to go there. No, I don't want to go there. This is always the problem when Discord decides that it's having a moment. Is it never does it in a conducive way. Let me see if I click here. Will that solve the problem? Probably not.
We will make a true attempt.
It's the strangest thing because it's set to the correct thing.
Hello?
Let me try this. Does that fix anything?
The choral resonance
There
is
we go.
discordant.
There we go.
Hello?
You should be audible now. Hopefully chat can now hear you, and I will tell you exactly what I did to fix OBS. I clicked on it
Yes.
where it said that it was looking at the correct window, and I told it to look at the correct window a second time, and then it just worked. So I literally changed nothing. I've also turned Lictor down because apparently now you are super loud for reasons
Yeah,
nobody
I have been
understands.
kidnapped and given the man flu, so I'm giving it back to the people, by the people, for the people,
With the people.
with the
Are we
people.
better now? There we go, I think. Excellent. Do not ask me
Excellent.
what happened. OBS has not had an update. I have changed nothing since last week. Telling it to work was telling it to do what it already told me it was doing, and suddenly loud. I don't know.
Yes.
Welcome to OBS.
Ask no questions, hear no lies. Also, hello, Tired German. He said hello.
It's cursed. We've established this. Yes, yeah. OBS is
Yes,
definitely cursed, but it's the level of curse that lets us do things.
yes. It is. Never mind. Dark ideas. Let's keep it friendly and showy. War crimes only in show.
Yes. Yes, yeah, it's been a busy week on my end. I'm working on Secret Project for Tex Actual, which is very, very fun. So the good news is that means I haven't read any more of the terrible romance books, so no romance this week, which is wonderful.
Amazing.
Yes,
I think
the
your
best
mental
news.
health. You may roll your weekly recovery of madness from the Delta Green book.
Yeah,
You can actually recover some of the madness.
I needed a week away from that cognito hazard for sure, especially catching the flu. Grimo's finished the book and then read 4 fan fictions to purge it from his brain. I mean, that's wise, but I just hope they were good fan fictions. Oh dear. So yeah, I have the flu. My throat is very, very sore. I have taken tablets, and we're going to see how long we can go for. It might be a shorter stream if my throat decides to just give out on us. Alternately, I might just get really into what we're doing this week and won't notice the time go by, and then Striker will be yelling at me to get off the channel. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Yep. I think we're book planning today.
Yeah, we are. I have many, many things that we can do today to look at stuff, and I'm very excited about all of them. And the nice thing for me is book planning doesn't require me to do any prep work before stream, because that's the whole point of the stream, is to do the prep work with you. Do I need to
Exactly.
rant about Devil May Cry to cleanse the garbage from my brain? I could, but I'm not going to put my throat through that, because I get very impassioned about how secretly genius Devil May Cry is, and why just about every single character in it is brilliantly done, and Devil May Cry 5 is almost a perfect game, and the only reason it isn't perfect is because I required more of 2 specific things, because they did everything else so well, and I just needed more. So I am not sure this is the week for Devil May Cry.
I want to be there when Devil May Cry week happens.
I love that series so much. I remember when I very first saw it, I was sitting in a friend's bedroom in a small town near where I lived, and there was like 7 of us in there watching my friend who'd purchased it play, and we just thought it was the coolest thing. But I was also like, yeah, this is really cool, but it's also really shallow and just, boys media. And I will fight previous me. I will beat up previous me, because I was incorrect. It is much better than it seems, although it does have there's some foibles. There's a certain line,
boys media.
and Devil May Cry 2 exists, so there are some missteps on the way to glory, but no BattleTech not this week, Doctor Who, because I've been doing a huge project for Tex. I haven't had time, and I'm also very sick. I have the flu, and no romance this week. I'm really sorry, but the rewrite is going to happen, so there will be lots at some point. So yeah, exciting things are happening. Exciting things. I was also very pleased today to realise that I'm not the first person starting off Friday. Some of you may have seen Newt on this morning, which is lovely. We'll have Striker on a bit later on, which is nice too. But for now, I'm afraid you're stuck with me. So,
Yeah, well,
book plans. Time to start mainlining
yes.
Lemsip. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any Lemsip in the house. One of my favourite things when I have flu is there's a nice cherry flavoured throat spray you can get, because anytime I'm sick, it always goes to my throat. I caught nasty. I can't even remember the name. Glandular fever. Glandular fever when I was relatively young, and it's therefore anytime I'm sick, goes straight to my throat. But because we've just moved house, and I didn't want to put, liquid medicine into packing boxes to go cross continent and go God knows where, I don't have any of my cherry spray at the minute. So my throat just hurts like hell. Oh God, there's dogs. That means Aiden is back. Hello, babies. Did you have a nice time? Hello, little bit. Hello. Oh, my goodness. Old Pip's got the zoomies. Welcome back.
Hello.
You are welcome to join us if you so wish. Yes, the hounds of House to Sear have in fact returned, and I'm sure I'll be jumped on shortly. Introspective, I'm not planning on stressing my throat. I'm not planning on doing any shouting today, so I should be okay. But if it does start to get really sore and I need to stop, then we will finish early. So I am paying attention to my health. But I didn't want to miss a chance to do some stuff with you guys this week. And we have some options of how we want to go about doing things. If you guys like, we can recap what we said last week and dig a little bit deeper into the act structure of our proposed novel, especially if there's anybody here who wasn't here last week to find out what we're going to be writing together. Another thing we could do is just go straight into character planning and use that to go along with our notes from last week. Another option that we have, it would be, it seems very self-indulgent on my side, but we could do it if you wanted to, is I have a short story I wrote for my own setting that we could read through and, talk about how in even short stories, act structures are important and things like hook lines. And if we get enough time and my throat doesn't give out, I thought we might look at establishing our universal prologue for Shoal books, because I think one of the things it would be good for us to do is to do like Warhammer 40k always has that, in the far future there is only war exposition at the front of every book. I think Shoal would benefit from one of those just to get people into a sort of macro view of hey, you're reading a Shoal book and this is what Shoal is if you have no clue, if you've never come across it before.
In the dark of the shoaly ocean,
I think it's
there is only crab.
I think it's kind of similar to the mission statement I gave you about the game I'm developing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need a mission statement.
Yeah.
We need a mission
I think
statement.
when you've
It's
got
ours.
something that's this big, and especially with things that are communal, because 40k has a lot of writers that work for it. The Enchantica series I've spoken about on here before. Enchantica has a sort of mission statement it has that go on both its ornament boxes and to do with its books, and that's because you've got multiple people feeding into that. And Shoal is, at this point, it doesn't belong to anybody, it belongs to all of us. So I think having that sort of mission statement, it's very beneficial to settings that are built that way. So that's something I'd like to maybe look at today as well, if we get to it, depending on how the throat goes. Yes, the naming game redeems should be on, and if you redeem one, then you get to have a named character that will go into the compendium who's just out there in the world. Yeah, you can absolutely have a canon character on Shoal if you redeem naming game. I have several already. If you've already redeemed it and I've got a note of it, I can go and have a look and see if I've got it in my notes. Then at the point where I'm writing that section up, if you haven't already come to me with, hey, my character is going to be this, is that okay? Then we'll sit down and do it when I get to that point. Let me go and see if I have your redeem listed to make sure it's there. Naming game. Yes, I have it. I have Corbin's, I have Introspective 90, and I've got his write-up already. Zork, Doctor Who, 7 Blue 7, Tired German, Baron of Derpshire, and Box Fox Scoot. Those are the ones that we currently have. Oh, that's another thing that I could also show you guys today, if you wanted and were interested, is I could show you just how deep the planning rabbit hole can go for people who are interested in deep book planning. Very deep book planning. All right, let's see who's just added themselves to the list. Anka, could you please stop? Baby girl. She is desperately trying to be on my boobs right now, which, no. That's it. Lay down on my hip. That's fine. Okay, so I need to add Digiman, Edgaus, and Grimos. Let me go and add those on. That's the wrong thing. I need to be clicking on this thing. There we go. Compendium. All the way at the bottom. Okay, Ed, Digiman, and Green Mouse. There we go. I keep notes, I swear. Right, back to here. It would really help if I stopped clicking on the wrong things today. That's just going to be a thing.
Don't worry about it.
I am currently petting Anka for you, Doctor Who. She's getting scritches between her shoulder blades and is very happy. She is a little
Hello.
demon. She is an adorable
Hello.
little demon. Hello, Ivan.
Yes,
How
I
are
am
you?
also here
You
to bring
are.
the flu to you live.
Yes, well, you already gave it to
Thank
me, and my throat's killing me. So thanks for that.
I laugh, but it makes me cough, and that hurts.
You've got 24 hours to get over it.
All of you stop being sick. We work on stop being sick. Well, the nice thing tomorrow, Lictor, because we are doing thing tomorrow with Lictor, is that you have
Yes,
to do
we
more
are.
talking than we do, so it's fine.
Yes. Yeah, no. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking a lot, and hopefully we'll have Squeak too. So
Yes.
that's going to be an interesting moment.
Can I declare Squick my service animal? Can he be my speaking mouth Squick?
You can, yes. You know
Oh
what?
no.
You know what? You know what? Sure. If you play a Ratling and he plays an Ogren,
This is
and
my
you put a
service,
Ratling,
Oberon.
Who runs Supply Town? Oh, having hurts.
your emotional support, Ogren.
Yes, because he supports my active ongoing emotions by keeping my feelings from being hurt by assholes.
See, that works. That is A-OK Imperium logic. Hi. Yes. With that,
Oh boy, Doctor Who has put in a vacation request.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Wilf, that's
Good.
an interesting opening statement, and we could always workshop on it, but I will note that down. Where am I going to put this? Let me put it
What did Wilf even write down?
here.
One moment.
Opening statement. I'll just call it that for now and put that in there. And I know that it's in the orcs, and I can grab it if we get to this today. There is a longer one that was a suggestion from someone last week that got brought up, and I know I've seen it and have a note of it somewhere. So yeah, we can workshop that a bit later on if we get to it. And we would love to have you up in the Pacific Northwest, Doctor Who. Yeah, much to show you up here.
Hell yeah.
Duskgruben.
We have such sights to show you.
Quite. So I think
Hopefully next year. Hopefully. Okay.
There we go.
So. Oh yeah.
Right, has
Bookkeeping.
anybody else
Important.
redeemed anything before I close this again? Okay, I'm good for now. I am good for now.
You are hereby declared free from bookkeeping for at least 5 minutes.
At least
I
5.
do a surprising amount of bookkeeping as a result of WBPL 76. Some of it
Well,
quite
we are
extensive.
doing a book.
Yes. So, let's have a look at what chat wants to do today. What do you want to start with? You know what? I'm just going to make it a poll where we can just vote on it, because that will make things easier for me.
Poll.
What shall we start with? Do we want to go straight into act, review, and development? Do we want to go into character creation?
Man, I understand that vibe, did you, man?
Do we want to go into ludicrous
Speed.
tools for book planning? Okay,
An
ludicrous tools for
automatic
books.
chicken farm in Valheim. Oh boy.
Oh, those are fun. I have made one of those before. What was the other option I was going to have? Yeah, ludicrous tools for books. Read a
Reading your
Lady Red short story. just going to call that reading a
good
reading Lady
option.
Red short. Yeah.
Yep.
That gives us our
Yay,
options. There will
shorts.
not be additional votes. This will be 2 minutes. Go poll. Do the work for me. So I can sit and
Yes.
sip drink and regret my life. I might have a job for you.
Oh.
Can you bring me 2 Tylenol and a fresh Dr. Pepper, please, out of the fridge?
Maybe. Be right back.
I asked him to do the hardest
I
things.
know, believe me, we're trying.
It's the plague. We must quarantine the orcs. I mean, it would be sensible to do so.
I mean, quarantining the orcs was always the plan. Never mind the disease. Have you seen these people? Letting them run out wild is really a health risk.
I have seen the gun channel in the orcs, yes.
Exactly. And these are the people that can lock down their interest to one thing for 5 minutes. Can you imagine the rest of it?
My friend has been helping
Dear
by
heavens.
spawning in animals at level 8+. The game is a seizure when you kill them before spewing forth a meat mountain. Wow, the fact it can actually read that. The last time I was spawning stuff into Valheim, it would only let you spawn up to the maximum that it will natively put in. This was a while ago. I haven't played Valheim in a while. And yeah, that was fun, but that sounds ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Valheim is a very fun game. I'm hoping that when Deep North comes out, Aloe might want to return to it at some point, because we did have fun the last time round, right up until that last boss, whose mechanics were completely different to everything else that we'd done so far. And I would like to revisit it. I think that would be fun. All right.
How are we doing on the voting?
I
On our poll, it
return.
looks like people would like to start with an act review and development, and then maybe look at some ludicrous tools for writing books. So we can start with
Ludicrous
act review
speed.
and going over what we did last time. That's completely fine. Do we have
Yes.
anybody in chat who wasn't here last week? Because that will determine just how much
How
I
much
recap
last
and-
time on Dragon Ball Z we do?
Exactly. There will be no screaming, however, because my throat hurts.
But think of the children.
I think of the children every night.
Oh my.
Thanks to you and Storm Song, I think of the children from Lost Odyssey, and then I want to murder everything. And oh, the children. The children. Storm doesn't know about the children.
Benefit of being sick. My laugh sounds even more evil.
Sounds ridiculous. All right, I'm not
Yeah.
saying anything directly in chat, so we're going to go middle of the road with our recap shenanigans. So,
Shenanigans.
last week we talked about NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month, and while I have never officially taken part through the NaNoWriMo group, foundation, whatever they're called, I like the concept. So every November for about 6-7 years now, I have always tried in November to write 80,000 words. I've only failed 1 year where I only wrote 50,000 words, which terrible. But I always,
monster.
I know, I always spend November doing huge writing. Not all of it ends up being projects that will continue or will go out into the world, but all of it's good practice, and I've learnt a lot from doing it. And the key to a successful November writing month is an October prepping month. However, because we have 2 hours every week on a Friday, I figured we might need just a little bit more than 1 month to plan writing an entire book together. So last week we decided we would start thinking about what we would like our very first book in Shoal to look like. We've done a lot of compendium work, and although there's a ton more that can be done and will be done, it felt like it was the right time to start moving on to what do we do with all of these things that we've made. And of course the answer to that is we write cool stories. So we sat down last week, we had a chat about what genre we wanted to write in, why some genres were better than others for a first book. All genres are of course valid, but there's always the consideration with writing of who is your intended audience and how do you best meet them
Who's
with
your audience and what does he do?
yeah, who is your audience and what do you want to say in this case? Thank you, Iden Schwarzenegger. So we had to think about that, and of course, a romance book would not be an ideal first book for a setting like Shoal. Romance on Shoal is going to be very weird compared to on Earth, and it's never a good way to start a series unless you're aiming at a very narrow demographic, usually females in the middle-aged bracket, shall we say, if you're going to start a series there. Not really the way that you want to go. We talked about the fact that sci-fi can effectively be a subgenre to anything else that we wanted to do. We debated whether we wanted to do a mystery, an action adventure, all these different things. And ultimately, the decision that we came to between everyone was that a pulp action adventure novel could be very fun. And that we wanted to take inspiration from the very fun storytelling of The Mummy. Which is a fantastic movie with a fantastic plot. We're obviously not talking about the more recent remake, which was terrible. Nor are we talking about the original Universal movie, though. That one was also very good. I don't want to write a broadcast spawning romance novel. Not yet. Certainly not, no. Whether we do in the future or not, different story. But we decided we were going to do something that was a little bit Indiana Jonesy, a little bit The Mummy, and pull together some ideas there, because that would allow us to showcase a lot of the very cool things that we've created for Shoal. We can have Titans front and foremost. We can have Leviathans involved in it. We can have cool abandoned underwater cities. We can have a floating migratory city as part of it. We can involve all of our different species that we've come up with. That there's a whole ton of uniquely Shoaly things that we can pull into our story. So that was what we decided. Excuse me.
You are excused.
Thank you, I appreciate it. We knew that we wanted the Titans to be one of the big focuses, and we also talked about theme. Theme in a book is a very important thing. It's going to reflect the sort of message you want to deliver to the audience, the thing that you're going to keep coming back to sort of tie everything together and give the whole of your narrative a sort of flow through of this is what the story is about. And themes tend to be very... there's not the world's hugest amount of themes, and they tend to be very varied. Well, the number of themes you're going to draw from is not varied, but what you can do with them is. So they're going to be fundamental things like power, family, relationships, this sort of stuff. And once we went over that, we decided that power would be the focus of what we're talking about. The power of nature, the power of the Titans, technological shifts and how that makes different people look at power from both the positive and the negative side, and the benefits of not using power. So Titans arriving in an area that doesn't really have them, and how they interact and everything that goes on was going to be a core theme of our book. And as we looked into it a bit more, we started talking about the concept of a expedition that was being sent to the South Sea, where we've got that nice band of coral reefs just below the surface. Well, I say just below the surface, it's actually quite deep water there. So we've got some big reefs over in that area, open ocean reefs. And once there was a city there. This city was overtaken by the Silence, one of our psionic illnesses and issues that we know we have on Shoal that we've written up before. And that the expedition is being funded to travel there and both investigate what happened, look to see if there's any artifacts or surviving coral, especially Temps coral, to bring back, and that we're going to have an issue there with the Silence getting reactivated, and that would be our plot. We also decided that Benny should show up, because of course Benny should show up.
It goes without saying.
Yes. Another thing we briefly touched on last week was beginning to look at some of our characters. We were talking about having 3 Titans split between 2 different Titan groups. 2 of them would be Tide Wardens, who are ocean patrol. They're sort of like your generalist Titans. A thing that's very common for Titan pilots to go into, especially in their earlier years. And that one of them would be a temple guardian that came from the library bank that's initiating the expedition. So this lets us have a look at the ways that different Titans run, experience levels, and all these sorts of issues. We discussed having a human character who was on board, which allows us to speak to our audience through a familiar lens, using the human to do things. Having a mentor, having somebody who's a survivor of a previous silence outbreak. So we've got that skill level that you can then bring in later. We started talking about some sub-characters we wanted to introduce in, which would allow us to have some social pressures in the group, and a local to the area who's not familiar with Titans, but who is going to be instrumental in helping our story get to its conclusion. So that was sort of where we were at last week with what we were thinking. And we discussed act structures briefly, where we talked about the 3-act structure, which is your very, very basic act structure for a story. And then we talked about the 5-act structure, and I briefly touched on the 7-act. We're not doing a 7-act structure because that tends to be very focused on an individual character that you're following through, who's having something of a personal epic. 5-act is where a lot of compelling stories tend to rest. So we decided that 5-act would be really good. And you can think of the 5-act structure as a pyramid. In your first act, you're starting on the flat land at the base of the pyramid. Then through Act 2, you're going to raise up to Act 3 at the tip of the pyramid. And then we're going to come back down the other side of the pyramid with falling action until we reach a nice, satisfying, flat ground conclusion on the far side. So that's what we're working with. All right, let's see if chat has said anything I need to comment on before we move into looking at this in a little bit more detail.
Well, silence is not a mind virus. It's a form of very invasive algae that travels
Yeah,
through the water.
it affects mental stuff, but it's let me, in fact, you know what? Let me pull up the silence. It is in the compendium somewhere. I've just got to find it.
The silence also have variants.
Yes.
It doesn't come. It has many flavors.
Dwarf Innsmouth. There's a statement.
Yep. Well,
Here we go.
does Innsmouth in Shoal is where all the dry people go?
Right. Have we decided, are we calling it the silence with a P at the front? Has that become the decided spelling? Let's do another poll on this. Okay. Is it silence?
Including the flavor of
silence?
nuke. No, that yes, we like to call that flavor Zork.
Right, there we go.
Zork's usually the one.
I mean, personally, now that we're at the point where we're at, silence with a P in front makes sense, especially as we've been ridiculous with coral as well, because coral and coral are pronounced the same, but they're different. So I don't see why we shouldn't have silence, and they're pronounced the same, but they're different, because that's the kind of ludicrous nonsense we've done with this setting.
Hey, Eric, I will just say that if we're doing with a P, it also has to be with a Y.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, that tracks.
I'm sorry. I mean, if
The man's correct.
Well,
in for a penny, in for a pound.
We could go either way, because do we want it to be silence with a P because psionics, in which case it would stick with the I, or do we want it because psychic and all of that, in which case it would have the Y?
I think it should go with a Y.
Okay, well, once we finish this poll, we'll figure that out on the next poll.
Next time, Dragon Ball Z.
We're working today, I swear. We are doing productive things, honest.
We're doing something, all right.
We're having fun.
Yes. My goodness, Anka. How are you such a big girl now? Why are you not still a tiny spudtato?
Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that.
She's bigger than her mama.
She is?
Illegal.
Wow.
Yep.
Illegal.
She's also still in that rangy young person body form, though. So our lovely gate that we have to stop the dogs going down the back, she can wiggle worm under it. She will army crawl under it.
Oh,
Yep.
wow. Ed has demanded the pets.
I am, in fact, petting that dog. I am giving her chest scritchies right now, and she's very happy. I will give her all
Very
the chest
good.
scritchies. Okay, so we've decided it's silence. Time for the next poll. The nice thing about these is these don't. It's easy on my voice. Just throw polls up and natter away. It's fine. Silence or silence?
Silence.
Words like silence break the violence.
That's a song, and I can't remember the title of it.
But bombs of silence break the violence.
What are you quoting? God damn it, I know this.
Words like violence break the silence.
Damn you.
Oh, poll is up.
Depeche Mode. Enjoy the silence.
Okay. I have heard it before, but not
Yes,
super familiar.
it's a nice song.
Pulling out all the 80s classics down here. Depeche Mode, Tears for Fears. I can't pick, they're both good. Right, I have finished petting the pup now. Right, let's see which one's winning at the minute. I think you might be outvoted on this one, I'm afraid, Lictor.
That is very well. I might not be Vox Populi, but I am Vox Diem.
It
Oh
can't be
boy.
said we don't do things fair around here. We said that Shoal was going to be this big old community thing, and then the community speaks.
The community speaks, yes, through the silence.
Noted, Dusk Ruben. That will make it 9 votes for silence with an I.
9.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, I think silence with an I is going to take it.
It is. It does. It did. Very good. No, I am happy either way.
Okay, now we know what we're definitely calling it. All right, so I have pulled up the stuff to do with the silence. I will read through it so we're all on the same page for what we're going on about. It's a predator. It's the colloquial term for 3 major predators of coral. The silence is composed of either the absence, the doldrums, or the quiet. Of the first 2, the absence and the doldrums, each is an algae-like life form that drifts across the ocean until it encounters coral psionics and hones in on the source reefs using small harpoon tethers to attach to surfaces. Once in the presence of a coral, both the absence and the doldrums reproduce rapidly while consuming the crystal content and psionic energy of its victim, enshrouding the coral in sticky grey matter. For the absence, this process breaks the coral's connection to the song and ability to hum until it is dead. The absence will then spread to other corals, potentially devastating a reef if no predator or protective species calls it in time. When attacked, the absence releases a cloud of spores to travel the currents and begins the cycle again, before allowing itself to be consumed by the reef's protectors. For the doldrums, its process of engulfing a coral is more insidious, as it utilises part of the psionic energy it eats to generate a negative emotive field to discourage predation and let it eat in peace. This means doldrum-infected areas are not silence, but rather grim and depressing as the algae enforces negative mood and disconnection around it, driving other species away. Thankfully, the use of this energy means the doldrums spread much slower, giving time for those predatory species as are immune to psionics to consume it, or for shoaly harvesters to move in and cleanse an affected area. So those are our 2 algal versions. The quiet is somewhat different, however. Unlike its algal counterparts, the quiet is a species of animal similar to a sawtooth caterpillar. These creatures travel in a swarm that sticks together by biting into their siblings' thick hides and securing themselves in place with a tacky silk, until the colony drifts to a coral reef. Once there, the quiet disperse over a chosen coral and begin to eat it down to its crystal layers, where they then lay their eggs and fertilise them before returning to the currents. When they hatch, baby quiet feed on the crystals of the coral and, of course, the psionic energy generated around them, vastly reducing the song of the coral as they mature towards adulthood. Reefs infested by quiet might show no sign for months until a whole swathe is suddenly hushed by the birthing of hundreds of babies all at once, and some reefs never recover. So, one of the things we'll need to decide for our story is which variant of silence our city we're sending people to was dealing with. Was the city abandoned because it had an outbreak of the quiet all at once? Or was it more an issue of a outbreak of absence or doldrums? What do we want to do?
What if we're doing a little bit of column A and a little bit of column C? What I'm thinking is that there was an absence that made it hard for everyone and made it so nobody noticed the quiet when it set in.
Okay, so a minor outbreak of absence that obscured the fact that quiet was also there, and because by the
Now,
time they dealt with the absence, the quiet suddenly happened, and it was all just too much.
it was all too much. Now, the thing is, we're not dealing with the normal quiet here. We need our existential level of Zork war crime problem here. So this was the first stage. There was the original happenstance where the absence set in, and then the quiet, and then the city died. Then came the other guys, temporary name bad guys, settled in, found this rich, prepubescent quiet that have been feasting very well on a powerful reef area. They took that and introduced it to the life cycle of a leviathan. And now we're reaching the end of that life cycle where the quiet and the this leviathan species are becoming what I keep referring to as a nether god, a quiet infested leviathan.
What if?
So now
I'm
yes.
thinking of all the things we talked about last week. What if we went for that with once the city was abandoned, bioengineers with no morals moved in and started tinkering with the quiet and leviathan eggs, etc. Realized that what they were creating was a real problem. Maybe somebody started, looking into what they were doing there. So they left in a hurry, but they effectively put the eggs into stasis. So there's low-level power just, keeping this research from continuing. And that's what our bumbling human accidentally does. It's like, oh, there's power running to this. I bet that's what's keeping this door locked. If we turn it off, the door should open.
I have some. I can get you one better.
Go for it.
The thing that's keeping it down is a small but cultivated colony of absence. And this gives a reason for the heroes, like, oh, if we'll just get rid of this is what made everybody run away. There's the absence here. The coral is dead. If we'll get rid of the absence, everything will be fine again.
Or at least makes it safe enough for us to investigate the ruins to see if there's anything worth salvaging. Okay, so we're
Exactly.
thinking unscrupulous bioengineers moved into the ruined city, experimented on Leviathan eggs with voracious quiet juveniles. They hid the research when people started asking questions. The quiet infested Leviathan eggs are being kept dormant by a wave of absence, feeding on the psionic energy in the abandoned lab. But when our heroes get rid of them, everything goes wrong. And that allows for our heroes to bumble into causing a problem without them having to be idiots to do it. It's not just, oh, look, I'll press this switch and see what happens like a moron. It's, no, this makes complete sense for me to deal with this. We had no way of knowing what this would unleash. We don't require people to have the idiot ball for the story to progress.
We do not do the idiot plot. Sorry. Rejected. No idiot plot in our book.
We can certainly play with that idea as well, Ed, that when humans dream, psionic signals get mixed up. We could definitely work that in as part of this. Yeah, but not having to rely on the idiot ball will make me very happy. So yeah, I think we can work with that. I think we can certainly work with that. See, isn't communal planning fun? I mean, this is literally one of my most fun things to do. I don't think anyone in chat truly appreciates just how much I love Fridays. This is like my favoritist thing ever. All right, so if I pull up our act structure then, we can, now that we've got that a little bit clearer in our minds, maybe we can have a look at our act structure in detail, and that will help to inform us of who some of our characters are going to be. If we get to that this week. You'll have to excuse me, my throat is hurting me just a little bit, so I apologise if I sound a little bit stuttery at the minute. I'm doing my best.
You are fine.
All right. So we talked about the 5-act structure. I'm not going to worry about the prologue at the minute because we know that we're going to have a standard introductory mission statement to every Shoal novel once we get that established, and we don't have to do that today. We might want a normal prologue to this book. If I was going to do a prologue for this kind of book, what I would do is it would be the kind of prologue that would be a different time and different perspective. Does anybody want me to talk about the types of prologues and when they're good and when they're not? I know we've done that in the past, so I'm quite happy to not recover old ground unless you guys want me to. Do you want me to talk about prologues for a minute or not?
I think we can skip that and get back to it when we actually talk about the prologue.
Well, if we did a prologue for this one, I would do different perspective, different time, and what it would be a very brief page perspective of the fall of the city. To give some kind, just a little touch of the background, a little touch of why the absence, was a horrible thing from the perspective of somebody who was living through that. It would be a very brief thing looking back in time through somebody else's perspective, and then we would move to the start of the book. So if we do a prologue, that would be the sort of thing I'd suggest.
Agreed. But that's in the future.
Yes. So, Act 1. So, our 5-act structure, we're looking at a pyramid. Act 1 is your the world in its normal state. So, what you're looking to do is to use about 10% of your book's runtime to establish the world and the setting, establish the people that you're following, and what their current normal is. You need to have a foundation of this is the world in its current state where everything is stable before the story happens. So you know where people are starting from. So exposition is where you're going to do your sort of discussion of what the world is like, what your characters are like, what their current basic goals are. and then you're going to move towards the inciting incident or the rising action. In our case, we're not really going to have an inciting incident. It's not going to be, and suddenly aliens appeared, or and suddenly there was a volcano, and suddenly the main character's mother died. We're not going to have that happening. There won't be an inciting incident as the call to action. Our call to action is rising action. The people that are on this expedition are already intending to be there, and it's following through on that intended work that causes the action to ramp up. So for us, I'm going to change out inciting incident to rising action. So from what we've discussed with our story so far, exposition, we would want to start our book with focusing in on 2 or 3 characters, who they are, why they are here, what their goals are, and how they intend to get there. And it's going to be very, very large scale. You know, we don't have to dictate to the audience, but that's what we're going to bring across in our exposition. We are also going to focus in on the world around them. So this will allow us to have a bit of history on the Lost City, a bit of history on the library bank funding the expedition, a bit of history on the Tide Wardens, the Temple Guardians, and the new relationship between Shoaly and humans. So we used the mummy a lot last week as our sort of framework that we would be doing similar things with. So this is going to be our period of the book where, you know, you're introduced to Evelyn and that she works in a library and she's clumsy and her family is dead and she looks up to the grumpy old librarian as something of a father figure, though she's rebelling against him. You get all of her backstory. You get O'Connell's backstory, and he's currently in prison and what's going on there and how he interacts with people. You get the brother introduced at that point as well, although he's technically a sub-character. So you're sort of bringing in that this is the world as it normally is. We have an Egyptologist who wants to investigate this map that she's found. You've got this former military adventurer rogue. Yeah, you're establishing what they both want in the world. She wants to understand and pursue knowledge to gain recognition. He wants his freedom and to preferably find enough money to go away somewhere and just live comfortably, probably with a bottle of whiskey for the rest of his days. By the time you get to the end of the story, that's not what either of them's looking for, but that's where they start out. That's what we'd be looking to do with our characters in the initial exposition. Let me just check chat before I move into the next bit. Tantalizing taste of horror. Yes, that can be great for a prologue. A note for silence-affected areas. Since I've linked silence, death, and chills with the aspect of cold water, I think the areas infested with silence could be cold. The more silence, the colder the area is. Yeah, and that would work perfectly well with being in the open ocean. It would be the sort of thing where, hey, it's kind of cold here, but maybe that's just because, you know, where we are, and not necessarily linking those two things together, but it being more than just it's cold. It's because there's silence. We could certainly work that in.
We could just careful with it. It'll be a nice note for the experienced character to
Yes, to
to
pick
put
up on.
in. Just not too over
Yeah,
stressed, because
it's
this is the sort of stuff that tips the readers
it's one of those
will
things that
will
you can drop in the opening as well, which I'm going to come to that in just a moment. But it's one of the nice things where you can put little tiny hints in that are completely innocuous the first time you read the book, and then when you come back and read it later, you're like, oh,
yeah.
okay,
Just need to do it right.
silence
That's all.
makes water feel
Silence is highly heat intensive and
the more silence.
is the silence is the polar opposite of the ferrofuzz. Whereas the ferrofuzz heats up the surroundings and is severely exothermic,
Mm-hmm.
the silence is cold and endothermic.
All right, so that's exposition, and that's what we'd be looking to do in that first part of the book. We're then going to move into our rising action. The mummy doesn't have rising action. It has an inciting incident. The inciting incident is the brother turning up and Evie opening the box and finding the map. That is the inciting incident. It's, oh, we've got this treasure map to follow, and that sets them off on the call for adventure. That's not going to happen for our characters. What's going to happen for our characters is that they've all signed on to this expedition because they think they're going out to do research and recovery. And the research and recovery goes wrong. So our rising action is going to focus on exploring the nature of the mission everyone is on, the relationships between the characters on the expedition, which gives us our first interpersonal complications. Especially as we talked about last week, having potentially a serotinoid character who everybody thinks is just in it for the money, and you think he's going to be a problem, and then later on he turns out to be much more than just a former pirate. So we're going to bring in some of our interpersonal complications here with the serotinoid, the human shoaly, new relationship, he's a bit of a weirdo, etc. That's the sort of thing we're going to bring in there. Characters on the expedition, the expected hiccups the expedition will encounter, could encounter, and that will allow us to explore things like, well, we are going to be pretty close to a pirate route, and what do we do if the migratory city, is late or delayed or whatever? We're going to start bringing in some of those issues there. And what else would be in the rising action? We would also want to look at contingency plans the expedition has, so that later on, when they inevitably go wrong, we understand what the stakes were and why people thought this was good enough, and now it turns out it isn't. To undermine later. So that's going to open our book. That is how we would structure Act 1. Tired German has copied the thing over here. We will definitely be workshopping this. I'm not taking any of this as gospel, but I am copying down the ideas so that we have them to discuss, because that's important. Let me put the last bit in. Anka, you are not helpful.
I am, meanwhile, trying to remember how to breathe.
With difficulty. With lots of difficulty.
Facts.
Okay, so your opening act takes up about 10% of the story. You can push it out a bit further if you need to, but we're going to be looking to sort of, sum up about 10%. We then move into what will effectively be the bulk of the story, which is Act 2. Act 2 tends to be the larger portion of the book, because this is where you're kind of explaining the stakes. It's where you're looking at how characters currently react to issues in their environment, and getting into that deeper understanding of who these characters are, why they matter, and why you should care what happens to them. For a lot of books, this is, especially in certain genre, this is where they can fall apart by having very unlikable characters, or stupid characters, or using tropes too closely. We are following a formula with this book, because like many of the arts, there are formulas you can break things down to, but it's then how you subvert and play with those formulas, or show them, in the classic way, but with something in them that makes it, worth reading. Shoal is already a wonderfully weird world, so we can just stick to formula by the by and not do anything to subvert it, and still write something compelling and interesting. But I suspect we'll end up subverting some stuff as we go along anyway.
We are missing one part.
What's that?
I just wanted to put it on. When are we introducing the mechs?
So the mechs will be in there from square one, because to the expedition that we're following, that's a native part of their lives. Obviously, it's going to be weird for the people that live in the South Sea who don't have Titans around, because this is the area they're going to is a dead area. But in the who they are, why they're here, the Titans will all be part of that. And introducing who the Titans are can absolutely be covered as part of that exposition, especially as we know our Paragon Titans, or our Awakened Titans, have their own personalities. And I imagine all three of our Titans probably will have personalities we'll want to introduce, but at the very least our Temple Guardian will have a personality all its own.
Yeah.
So that will get introduced
Abrasive.
there. We consider the Titans characters all their own. And I think that's a really important way to go through this.
Yeah, I just wanted to be on the table.
Yes.
That everyone.
Absolutely. I love the fact that Doctor Who picked up on my slighting of the romance genre once again. Yes, look at this nice balcony. I better ignore the party inside and meet a lady in a totally contrived way, while we're both completely unlikable characters and there are no stakes and nothing matters, and why should anybody care? We're going to avoid that. We're not going to do that. Uncut, did you just crop dust me? You are so lucky I can't smell properly at the minute. All right, so Act 2, we're going to look at our first major turning point of the story. So in terms of this, what we're going to have is the arrival. Why is that in bold? I do not wish this line in bold. Thank you. Arrival at the expedition point. Discovery that part of it is still powered. Ramifications and plans made/changed as a result. We would also want to look here at the display of capabilities, prowess, personality, and commitments of our main and sub-characters. And then we will start to get progressive complications. So it would be at this point our veteran pilot notices things are amiss. The veteran pilot will probably notice things are more amiss than the others assume, but it will be dismissed as some concerns dismissed as implausible in favour of more likely concerns. So this would be where we can maybe have our veteran pilot be like, no, it's cold here, but I know we've detected that there's absence in the area. We're prepared for absence. We're expecting absence, but this doesn't feel like that cold. This feels different. Something's wrong, and it being passed off by everyone else's. But all of these readings are within what we'd expect. This is the protocol. This is what we have in place. We knew this was coming. You're just being paranoid, and it would be acceptable for it to feel like maybe the veteran is being over paranoid. And of course that's where you bring in your dramatic irony, where the audience kind of knows that, oh yeah, it's that there's something more going on here. We'd probably want to spend quite a lot of our time focusing on the human character for the human lens, and then the added complications of having a human as part of the crew. And it's probably also at this point that we would want to add in the Titan ignorant locals and potential local conflict. I'm not saying it would come to an outright fight between them, but the resentment that this expedition is there, that they're disrupting their way of life, that could be a thing that comes in. That could also help to cover over for why some of the veterans' concerns are not taken seriously. The locals have never seen anything worse than this in this area. You're being over dramatic, etc., etc. We're setting up expectations that we can undermine later, even if people know that the undermining is coming. Yeah, it's cold here. Too cold for absence.
Yep.
Excuse me, I'm dying
Oof.
over here.
No dying.
Yeah.
Trying not to.
Same.
So
Flesh
I'm a
is
lot
weak.
less. I'm a lot less talkative right now because of the same.
one of the big things that we'll be looking to do in Act 2 of the story is really hammering on the characters as they currently are. So what we would be looking at here is their worldviews, their goals, their intended path to get there, and their misbelief about the world not yet changing. So one of the big things when you're making characters, which for those of you who are here when we did a sample character a few weeks ago, and we'll see it again when we do some character development later on, when you're building a character, one of the things that makes for a very powerful character arc is really getting inside the head of the character you're presenting and treating them like a real person. For each of us that's alive, we will all have a misconception about the world that's based on our personal experience and events that we've gone through. And these misbeliefs will be challenged as you age, as you mature, as you have other experiences that cause you to question those. And then that's how you develop as a person. It's why we don't stay the same as we were when we were 15, 16. You know, you grow up, you mature, and you slowly become more rounded. But of course, at the same time as you go along, you're also picking up new misbeliefs about the world. It's a continual cycle that we go through that's just part of being alive. For characters on the page, they don't get to have that full gamut of life experience where you get to watch them from the day they're born till the day they die. You're looking at a snapshot in time, and if you're writing a book well, then what you're doing is you're looking at the characters at the most exciting part of their life that they went through, and that's the story that you're telling. So for each of our characters, we will be thinking about what their backgrounds are that have led them to a misbelief about the world that the story will cause them to realize is not correct, and challenge it and cause them to grow as a person, to hit that point of maturity because of something happening around them. For the character that we did last time, her misbelief about the world is that you are only considered worthy by your accomplishments and that she wasn't good enough. So her misbelief is that she has to achieve more, on paper accomplishments, things that she can put in front of people that say, I've got these degrees, I've done this, I've been there, I handled this well, to improve her self-worth. And of course, that's not how that works. There are many, many ways that you can have self-worth, and degrees and acts and etc. are all wonderful things to have, but life is about more than just that. So if she was the main character of our story, what we would be looking at is for her to achieve personal self-growth and self-worth and recognition through something other than a direct achievement, accomplishment, or piece of paper. We'd want her to have those introspective moments to grow. We'll be looking to do similar with our few main characters we choose for this story, to know what it is that they misbelieve about the world in the current time, and that will change as the course of the story goes. But in Act 2, we're still going to be very much in them being comfortable with who they currently are, how they currently think the world works. They haven't yet had that concept challenged. Right, let's see what
So
she's
good.
saying. No dying, the necromancers are on strike. Well, god damn it. The priests do charge too much, you're right. There may be punitive action for anyone found dying. Oh no.
Things will continue. Look. Fine. Yes, dying is illegal, but then again, we will not get to enforcement just yet. Just stick to being alive. Thank you.
Yeah. So in Act 2, we're going to want to really hammer on the characters as they currently are, what their worldviews are, what their goals are, how they intend to get to those goals, and what their misbelief about the world is, that they're very comfortable in those shoes at the moment. Then we move into Act 3, and it all starts to go wonderfully wrong. So we're once again going to be back to rising action, on new inciting incident in this case, and it will be a little bit more inciting. Well, no, that would be the climax. So our rising action here will be, for this story, will be delving into the ruined city, exploring the powered section, learning more about the environment they came to see, while also picking up on things that are amiss. It's at this point that I would also want our Shark Girl local to join the party. She will probably be doing so against the advice of her elders, but her understanding of the area helps readers understand the stakes and directs our expedition without needing MacGuffins or contrivances. Because we don't really want to do and then they just stumbled into the place and found the thing. No, we're going to give them a local that understands it, so that we can also really hammer on that theme of power we were talking about earlier. And okay, you've got these titans with you, but local knowledge that's born not of needing technological levels is also powerful in and of itself. Force projection can happen in many ways.
Ask
Hello,
Sun Tzu
Corbin.
what he
Good
thinks
to see
about
you.
Think Sun Tzu and ask him what he thinks about using locals. It's in the first section, so yeah, use local guides.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's the order.
our climax midpoint will be accidental release of the young, quiet, riddled leviathans through mishap. We know that this is going to be clearing out the absence, resulting in unintended consequences. It's at this point that we can give our first resolution is the weird word to use for it, but it is the one I want to use here, because we're going to be doing our first resolution of things we've set up so far. This is where stakes are realized in real time by the death of the first expedition member. Excuse me. So we're going to want to resolve that, and this should also play into previous setup of interpersonal drama, raising the stakes mentally higher. So this is where we start playing with everything we've set up so far. We see the resolution of it's too quiet for the absence. You were right. This is where we now see that come through. This is where it's now not just a case of, oh, this is a happy adventure story where nothing bad can happen. Something bad happens. And it's not just, oh, no, we've unleashed the thing. It's, no, somebody's actually dead. We really establish what those stakes are and give our characters a reason to go from the happy normal that they started everything in, with all these, nicely laid plans of mice and men, and now we've had first contact with the unexpected and it's all gone to shit. And we're now going to go down that far side of the pyramid with falling action before we resolve ourselves on a nice flat plane once again.
Note. Somebody said something horrible at some point in the text earlier and said that the Leviathan in question is a clutch of eggs left by the submerged Valstrax.
Oh, well, yes, that's terrifying, especially as that thing's not supposed to be able to reproduce, so that would make that even worse.
It's what I'm thinking is this is so terrible because even the baby form of that thing will be absolutely terrifying.
Yes,
but just enough. but just enough not terrifying so we can put it in the book. It's not cosmic horror. It's not cosmic horror. It's just locally alien level horror.
What could be really interesting with this is the whole point of the Valstrax Leviathan, who we'll have to put more detail into if that's what we're going to do, and I'm not against it. Its whole thing is it's super cavitating. That brings the immediate concerns closer to home because, oh god, we've just unleashed like 5 or 6 of these things, and the migratory city, if they attack the migratory city, they're just going to sink the entire thing.
Yes.
So that could actually work really well.
Well, our chat is full of terrible ideas.
Yes,
Yes,
we
yes,
do
they
crimes
are.
around here. Clones wouldn't hurt. Oh no. Well, hello, Gregulus. I see Aiden has answered the question. Yeah, we are doing a community-built sci-fantasy setting, and we are currently in the planning stages for writing our first book in the setting. If you want to know more, you're very welcome to join our Discord if you haven't already. It's the public-facing Discord of the Black Pants Legion. There is a creative writing section in there with all of the notes on Shoal, where we like to talk about these things. It does kind of look like the Falklands. That wasn't on purpose. We have a predominantly ocean world, but we do have a little bit of land. We're not focusing on the land for our first book, however. We're going underwater. So we've got some fun stuff going on. Right, let's make a decision. I'm going to do a poll so that you can tell me which way you want this to go, chat. Do we want our Leviathan eggs? Leviathan eggs are... normal eggs, which shouldn't be possible. I can't fit all of that in. I'm just going to put normal eggs. So the Valstrax Leviathan is not supposed to be able to natively reproduce, but we could do a bit of a Jurassic Park and go, oh god, it's managing to lay eggs. How the hell did that happen? This is terrifying.
Life
finds a way.
Finds a way.
Or we can go with clone eggs, where the scientists entirely did this, and it's the same scientist that made that Leviathan in the first place. So let me put that poll up, and you guys can let me know which route you want to go down. Either is interesting. We can play with both.
You misspelled either is terrifying. But, yeah.
Yeah, you let me know which way you want to go. Do we want it to be that, oh god, the thing can breathe, it's not supposed to be able to breathe, or oh god, the scientists made more than one and they made it worse? This place sounds like a Black Ops site for war crimes that went out of hands. Clones would make sense there. Also plays into the old wartime hubris cliche. Yeah, that could be an option. There are many reasons why we could have this sort of thing going on here. And we will get to make those decisions once we decide, which we find more compelling to write about, and we can establish that background.
Yep.
It's normal eggs, but the Leviathan is a clone that was neutered when they realised how bad it was. We could go down that route. We'd have to adjust some of our current preconceptions on the Valstrax Leviathan. It still needs its own name. But that would also be fine to do because we haven't fully detailed it yet. So that's completely doable. We have many, many options.
We have all options are on the table.
Yes.
Sadly, for everyone else involved.
I think for Valstrax it should be unintentionally breeding, but for the science infection it should be normal eggs. Yeah, there's nothing saying we can't play with multiple things in the future. Okay, looks like our poll is about to come to an end and we've chosen clone eggs. Okay, so at the moment, to the best of everybody's knowledge, the Valstrax Leviathan is not breeding. There's still only the one of it. It's just that they made more eggs and they've made them worse.
Oh boy! boy.
Tired German thinks that readers might get the ew factor with the implication that the monster Leviathan fucked.
That's
Okay.
their problem.
They are clone eggs. Okay, that solves that question. Right, let's get back to our 5-act structure. So our climax midpoint is going to be, oh god, we've unleashed something terrible. We're now moving into the falling action. The initial falling action will probably follow our local shark girl, because the immediate danger is going to be to her village. This allows us to play with themes of inevitability and I told you so, and gives our heroes a reason to self-introspect, question their decisions, worldview, and path forward. Begin the process of change, and refinement of core values for the future conflict to come.
Also, another someone else dies.
Yep, that will come as part of this. Initial attempts to deal with the problem will be unsuccessful, with meaningful outcomes in the negative. More deaths, destruction, despair. And the reason that we want to show this is, one, it's just narratively satisfying to have this rise and fall. It's just something that humans like. It's how we're built. But it also, it's adversity is what sort of really shows the measure of a man. It's not when everything is happy and as expected and things are going the way that you want them to that you really test somebody's fundamental characteristics. It's when you hit roadblocks. It's when something bad happens and you have to make the decision of how you're going to handle what that bad thing was. It's where you can have negative things like committing to sunk cost fallacy or, becoming cowardly or burying your head in the sand. But it's also where you can have your very positive things of, persevering through, making the best choices in the conditions that you're given, accepting that some things can't be fixed, but doing what you can to make what comes next the best that it can be, or putting into place your plans for the future, or not sacrificing your morals even though it means something bad could happen in your life. That's where we're tested as human beings, is when things don't go the way that you're expecting and you have to make those core fundamental decisions, and you have to put your characters through that. It's why you kind of go from the less mature young people writing, where you're writing about things that are just cool, to more mature writers who are like, what horrors can I put my characters through?
How much can I make these dumbasses suffer?
And of course you can go too far the other way. You can
Yes.
Darkness-induced audience apathy is the TV trope name, and yeah,
and sometimes it's fine to just have things go according to plan and just be cool. I mean, we started out the stream talking about Devil May Cry, and although bad things happen in that, a rule of cool always wins. So, there's always some variance to it, but this is why we want to put our characters through, it's all gone to shit, what will you do now? Because that's what's satisfying about this journey that we're trying to show to our audience. All right, let's see what chat's saying.
a great googly moogly. It's all gone to shit, Kupo.
Wayland Yutani and the Xenomorphs all over again. We are borrowing from a lot of other previous artistic creations here, but that's kind of the case for everybody. There are only 7 stories that exist in the world. And what makes all of them, all of the millions of stories that exist interesting is the unique ways that those 7 stories are told and told over and over and over again. Is there a reason that we're quoting Squeak being a creature of unlimited stealth? I'm concerned.
Oh boy.
I mean, we'll see about Squeak and infinite stealth. This Squeak the infinite and the divine, the
And
Squeak and the
Hey,
divine.
don't you mess with my speaking mouth, Squick.
I will mess with everything. You just wait and see. Or whether.
another thing I think we should really focus on in our falling action section will also
Yes.
be a test of resolve for the Silence Survivor pilot. And we should probably have a proper look in this section at his survivor's guilt. I think it would be very important to look at that, and we'd also want to focus on our shark girl
Yeah, we really
and
should.
her commitment to help the expedition even after what's happened for the greater good.
I think the thing here's a just a twist. She tries to apply the values of her people to the people of the expedition.
Hmm.
And this is the sort of stuff that pulls out the serotonoid from from their uh PTSD moment of, oh God, it's this absence all over again.
You know what could be really interesting?
Go ahead.
What if the shark girl wants to fix things and she wants to do things with the expedition, and she's doing exactly what you just said, but the only people who are receptive to this are the serotinoid that you were just talking about and also our human. So you've got sort of like the two opposites, sort of a triangle of thinking. You've got the true outsider in the human. You've got the serotinoid former pirate who's encountered this sort of thing before, and everyone thought he was just here for the money, but this is personal now. And you've got the shark girl who, this is completely outside of all of the advice her elders have given her in her own life experience, but she can see the greater need, and we have that
Mhm.
triumvirate sort of bring the gang together to do the thing that needs doing.
Sounds good.
Bring in the serotinoid and the human as a triumvirate of outlooks coming together to solve the issue. I'm going to put it in inverted brackets because it's a trope, but it's one that we're going to play with nicely. Get the gang back together. Okay. And then our major turning point that will happen here will be the attempt to contain the issue. Partial success can happen here because of how we're setting our story up. The Leviathans are driven away from the village. Initial success is presumed until the greater threat is realized. The danger is not past, it's just diverted. They need a bigger plan. They don't need a bigger boat, they
We
need
need
a
a
bigger
bigger.
plan.
Oh, damn it! You beat me to it.
And then that will lead us into Act 5, where our catastrophe is Leviathans heading for the migratory city. Plan to solve the issue will leave the expedition stranded if it goes wrong, or potentially even if it goes right. Anka, please stop. I'm trying to write with her licking inside my elbow, which is, not the easiest thing to do.
but it is really heckin' adorable.
It is very adorable. Let me bring this up so you guys can see it a bit better. Head of the migratory city, plan to solve the issue, will leave the expedition stranded if it goes wrong, or potentially even if it goes right. Self-sacrifice on the line. Greater good, test of morals. Reanalysis of character goals, understanding of the world, and what they now want. I'm going to put in inverted brackets here. The shape of victory will have changed. And of course, this is where the drama ramps up. Will they succeed or won't they? And I think in our case, because the kind of setting we're writing and the intended audience, they will succeed, but there will be some losses.
They will succeed, there will be losses, and one of the clones will get away.
Okay. One clone Leviathan is...
It escape.
accounted for
Yes.
at the end of all this, but does not remain on any sensors. Mystery for later use. And then that will take us into the final part of the story, which is known as the resolution, or the denouement, which is tying up all the loose ends. So this will be our satisfying conclusion. Survivors of the expedition return home. Everyone has learned something, even if they have also lost something. Everyone is now a more rounded and mature character. There is grieving for those lost, but also the hope of a new, stronger tomorrow. Shark Girl, I think, will be important here. Shark Girl chooses to explore the larger world, most importantly, with her family's blessing.
Oh,
Because
that
that
is wonderful.
always feels satisfying to readers. All right, let me
Agreed.
have a look and see what I've missed in chat. Like going to the zoo and seeing elephants get it on. I mean, it's part of, you know, life, and it's part of being a young person being taken to the zoo by your parents is accidentally walking up to an exhibit and the animals are getting it on. It's just normal. And if you're really lucky, it's some form of tortoise, because the noises they make is ridiculous.
I was about to make the comment. I remember when my eldest sister, took her kids to the aquarium, and then one of my nephews pointed out the two turtles banging in the aquarium. They're like, what are they doing? Oh God, laughing hurts. They were asking, what are they doing? They're hugging, dear. They're hugging.
Technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Indeed.
I see Gregulus mentioning pages of exposition on things that are not that exciting. Yeah, we're going to try to avoid that. Good exposition is natively woven into a narrative, or is seen through the perspective of a character you're currently following, so that you don't get bored of what's being said, and you can drip feed people stuff. You don't need to give people pages of exposition. It's not usually the best.
No need.
Turtle boinking is funniest boinking. It kind of is. And also, Ralphie says, laser.
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 Laser?
Laser.
What? Why laser?
Because
Laser.
lizard.
I will link you. I will link you.
Lizard.
Laser. Okay. Link
Ralphie, I'm the one who first started laser.
Laser.
You, I can blame you I can blame you for laser?
Yes. Aiden is responsible for
Okay.
all lasers ever.
This opens
There you
a
go. I sent you the thing.
this opens so many venues of investigation. Oh, I
Oh
see.
God, my lungs.
All
That's
right.
okay. We will replace them tomorrow.
So I think that's a pretty good breakdown of our 5 acts, what we're intending to do with our story. Our next job will be to actually mark out our characters. We'll want to look at, I would say, no more than 3 or 4 main characters. Everyone else can be sub characters. And that doesn't make sub characters less important. It just means that we're not going to stick in their head as closely to watch their character arc. And the reason for that is because if you have too many characters where you're trying to follow that, it just gets muddy and confusing and nothing means as much. There are phenomenal writers out there who can manage to have 7 main characters and still keep them interesting. I don't think we're going to succeed in that as a collaborative project over Twitch. I think we should be reasonable with our expectations of ourselves, and we will look to do just a couple of characters. Our Shark Girl, I think, is categorically going to have to be one of them. Who our other main characters are is a little bit more up
The
in the air.
human,
We can do the human.
the human.
It would also be entirely possible for it not to be the human if we don't want it to be, but I do think the human is a very strong contender. And then we need to decide who our other one will be, or I guess I think 3 minimum would be our best bet to act for. 3 is probably going to be that comfortable number. So we will
I'm
have
going
that to
to
do.
I'm going to say that there has to be at least one pilot that has to be a main character
So my
for
gut then
this.
says that we should go with the Shark Girl, the human,
Mhm.
and the Titan pilot who is a survivor of a previous silence outbreak. I think getting inside their heads, that would be our 3 people that might be the most interesting. And again, this is not to say that
Okay.
all the other characters aren't important, that we won't spend time with them. It's just that those are the 3 whose arcs we will follow the closest. That would be my gut.
My reason being for a pilot is that we need someone whose Titan is also a character, and
Yeah.
that makes much more
Also,
yeah.
that and this whole setting was predicated upon what if mechs but underwater.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's just that we've got 3
making a
Titan
story
pilots
with
to
that,
choose from, but I think the one who's a
yeah,
survivor of the silence would be the most interesting to poke around in with his character arc, because he's just natively got a bit more going on, because he's got that survivor's guilt, etc, etc. I think we could do some really interesting stuff with that.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Just
agreed.
it's like trying to write a BattleTech story without having any mechs, you know?
And I
But we
believe
have
that could
Max.
be
We have
done compellingly, but yeah, you'd be missing the core thing. You wouldn't want that to be your first BattleTech book. The very first BattleTech book is going to have mechs in it, because of course it is.
it would be kind of weird if it doesn't.
Yeah.
It really would.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
delve into character building this week because my throat is really beginning to hurt. We can do that next week.
I,
That will be what we do next week.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I think we've covered a lot of ground
we
today
have.
already.
We have. We've been very busy today. I'm proud of us. What I would like to do, though, is just sort of a closing thing, and we'll finish a bit early this week because, unfortunately, I am sick. Would you guys like to see what software I'm very likely to boot up once we start writing this, so I can keep everything in order, dates-wise? And it means we'll have to have a
Yes.
conversation at some point about what Shoal's calendar looks like.
Yes.
Right, give me a minute because I'll need to open it first, and then I'll need to tell OBS to witness it.
Witness me.
Correct. And the program name has now gone out of my head because I'm sick and my brain doesn't work. And that's very annoying. Right, where is
Isn't
it?
it a ludicrous thing?
Oh, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate
Didn't
it.
you call, didn't you call it ludicrous?
And you're just not going to. Surely I have it linked on my desktop somewhere because I've got projects in it. You know what? That might be the easier way to find things. Is just go find the project. Go find the project. Arts. Writing. In here. Is it in here? Oh, is it not installed on here at the minute? It must only be on my laptop. Well, I guess I can't do that then.
That's fine.
It's Aeon Timeline. That's what I wanted to show you guys. Because it's cool. And I guess I don't have it installed on my desktop at the minute. It must only be on my laptop. But Aeon Timeline, what it is, and I'll just have to show you guys in the future, it is like spreadsheets on crack. And just much more interesting to look at. Aeon Timeline allows you to establish a unique calendar for a setting, though its one foible is the way that it handles leap years. It expects leap years to work always exactly the same way they do on Earth, where you add the day in and then it shifts everything to the right by a day. Whereas for one of my settings, that's not how it works at all. They literally just add another day to their calendar and then carry on the next year as if it never happened. So it can't handle that, but other than that, it can handle a unique clock. It can handle however many hours in a day that you want. It can handle however many months you want to have in a year. It can handle how many days are in a week. You can set up your entire own calendar, and then you can tell it where recorded history starts. So it knows that it's got effectively a BC and an AD. It can handle that, and you can give whatever acronym you want to the before and the after times. You can then tell it when present day is, and then you can start putting into it characters. And you can give it birth dates, death dates, important events like coronations, what their birthday is, etc., and tell it whether you want that to appear on the timeline or not. You can put in events like if there's a comet that passes by every 300 years, you can get it to show that on the timeline. You can then get it to start cross-referencing children to parents, grandchildren to parents. You can set up an entire genealogy of people of who's related to who. You then, when you start writing your stories, and Aeon Timeline is integrated with Scrivener and vice versa, so you can sync them up to each other, it will then... Excuse me. So long as you give...
No dying.
I know. Whatever scene you're writing, if you give it a date, it will then post where that scene happened on the timeline, and you can give it a caption so you know what was going on in that scene, so that if you write future books that are set in the same setting at the same time and you need events not to overlap, or you do want them to overlap, you can visually see at a glance how that happens. Who's where and when, who's tied to what events. So if you need somebody in one book, the king has died and everybody's at the funeral. In a subsequent book, you decide that you're going to have a thief steal something, and because of the time frame that it's in, well, the ideal time to steal it is while everybody's busy at the funeral. It's really easy for you to see who is where and when did the funeral happen, without having to claw back through pages and pages and pages of notes to find it. You just open your timeline project and it's like, yeah, here. And you can search on the timeline as well. You can put in a keyword and it will just find it for you. Or you can go through a character and say, show me everything that's happened with this character. It's fantastic. It's spreadsheets on crack and I love it.
Oh,
Some dimensions for humans, depending on how long Shoal's days last. Shoal has really weird days. The human is not going to adapt easily, but that will be part of the thing, is that, they've been here for a relatively long time, or at least, long enough to have adapted to how Shoal works. Shoal technically has 48-hour days, but it doesn't have a day-night cycle because it's a ocean moon orbiting a gas giant. So it has periods where there's a day-night cycle, but it also has periods where there's no light at all because the gas giant's in the way. it has periods where the stars move faster in the sky or slower in the sky because of the gravitational pull of its sister moons and the gas giant, depending on whether the gas giant is ahead of it or behind it. The way that the Shoalese tell what time of day it is through their psionics. They are psionically linked to the coral, which has a high song and a low song that it emits during effectively high tide and low tide, and they can measure a day based on that. Humans can't do that, so it's going to be an experience for our human.
I will tell you what. Humans are going to use the invention of the timepiece.
Yes, they will in fact use the common clock to know what's going on, but it's still going to mess with their circadian rhythm because it doesn't match. But if our human has been, and you're not going to take a human on an expedition who's only just initiated contact with the Shoalie. He's probably been on planet for a couple of years in one form or another and gotten used to it. So
We are going to give our precious human an infinite supply of what Shoalie call coffee, and they are going to complain about it loudly about the lack of coffee and the fact that the local thing tastes like seaweed, but nothing like it.
Oh, we're going to have to come up with Shoalie hyper coffee. Yes, that sounds wonderful. What we will also want to do when we come back next week and we start deciding on some of these factors is we will want to decide what season this is going to take place in. Do we want this in the gloam? Do we want this in a lambent season? Do we want this in a tenebrous season? Do we want this to be during a meteor shower and extra radiation? I'm thinking probably not because we've got a human as part of the party, and although he's going to be underwater for this, it probably wouldn't be the best time. But we'll get to make all of those decisions when we come back together next time, I think, because
we are so considerate with it. We're not putting it in lightning season.
yeah, considering how close we are to the crag-bound sea, yeah, let's not put it in lightning season.
Yes, this is not the season where the water is so conductive. Everything is 2 zets away from becoming plasma.
Yep.
Okay, yes.
Yes, Rimwood, I
I'm
have been
sorry.
extolling the gloriousness of spreadsheets, specifically spreadsheets as presented through Aeon Timeline, which is just wonderful.
Spreadsheet's good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do think I'd like to wrap up just a little bit early this week if you're okay with that, chat, because, yeah, my throat really hurts. I want a shower and a cup of tea, and then I have artwork to do this afternoon.
Yes, because you've been hired by even more people because you don't understand the concept of not overbooking yourself.
Yeah, but people want things done, and they're cool things, and etc. And apparently, graphic design is my passion. I didn't know this, but apparently it is.
So it would seem.
Yeah, I did get an extra job this morning that I'm keen to do. So yeah, life goes on. Life goes on.
I will not mourn you, for I know your pain.
Yeah.
It is fine.
Right now, though,
Everything will be fine.
I need to go have a
Yeah,
shower
right now, though.
and a cup of tea, and we need to leave you to have a wonderful afternoon, chat. I hope you have an excellent
Have a
weekend.
wonderful time.
I will be here on Sunday for WBPLW. I hope to see as many of you there as possible for gambling and chaos and ridiculousness. And yeah, we will come back next week and start working on some characters, and that will be fun too.
Stay submerged. Bye.
Bye.
Oh.